Hey guys, what's going on, dudes? It is David here. We're back with another video. Now, in this video, guys, we shall be discussing the Raiders announcing that the head coach, Josh McDaniels, and the GM have both been fired. As of last night, the Raiders will be having a new head coach coming into next season. Now, what does this mean for the Raiders? Well, let's just say this. The offense for the Raiders was not doing really well. Davante Adams this past week only had one catch. He had like 7 targets and only one catch. The wide receiver that they brought in free agency, which was Jacoby Myers, he only had 1 target. And the offense just has not been doing good. The running game has been doing good. Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the NFL, so obviously he's going to be able to do well. But the quarterback is the main problem, and Josh McDaniels brought in a guy that he was familiar with, gave a 3-year deal in Jimmy Garoppolo, and now that Josh McDaniels is no longer there, I can expect a lot of Patriot players that came over to play for Josh McDaniels will probably be at least going back to Bill Belichick or somewhere else like that. If Bill Belichick can get Jimmy Garoppolo, who knows, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo can play well under Bill Belichick, considering Bill Belichick was the one that really had Jimmy Garoppolo playing and not Josh McDaniels, even though Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator. But what this also means is that the Raiders are the first team to fire their head coach and their GM, which means they get a fresh start heading into the offseason, heading into the rest of the season, because I don't really see the Raiders making the playoffs. Even though they have a stacked roster, they were able to get a good coach throughout the midseason, considering this is week 8 and the NFL trade deadline just passed. If they were to get a good coach for the rest of the season, like the interim head coach that they have, which is a former Giants player, then there's a possibility the Raiders may be able to make a playoff push. But had they done this earlier, they could have got a lot of trade assets. They could have traded Davante Adams, they could have traded Jacoby Myers, they could have traded Josh Jacobs, and they could have just completely rebuilt this thing all over. They could even trade Jimmy G, but it's too late now because the deadline has passed for the NFL. So now that the Raiders have fired their coach, that means the new coach that's going to be coming in is going to be wanting to draft their own quarterback, which means the Raiders are going to be highly likely to either take Caleb Williams if they could get to the number 1 spot, or Drake May, or possibly even J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. I just don't see Jimmy Garoppolo staying in Las Vegas no matter how much money they gave him. And apparently the Raiders still have to pay Josh McDaniels because they gave him a 6-year contract. And the owner gave him a 6-year contract for what? Why would you give Josh McDaniels a 6-year contract, considering the last time he was a head coach, he got fired in Denver, one of your division rivals? He got fired. And yes, he lasted, I think, about the same amount of time, or probably even more time than he did in Denver. But he was still not a good head coach. He learned under Bill Belichick. There's only a rare few people that have been good head coaches that were under Bill Belichick, and Josh McDaniels is not one. But one thing I do expect for Josh McDaniels next season, if he does, he's going to go back to the Patriots and probably be the offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick again, which means Matt Jones is going to have another offensive coordinator, but at least this one probably will be better than the one he has right now, because they just need better players around Matt Jones. But in all honesty, Raiders firing Josh McDaniels, this just means that it's going to be a fresh start for the Las Vegas Raiders. Fired the GM, which means the new GM that's going to be coming in, who knows is going to be, is going to want to have their own quarterback. They're going to blow everything up. There are probably going to be a lot of trades for the Raiders. They're going to try and get picks. They're going to try and rebuild this roster. And the Raiders will probably be back to playoff contention within the space of 2 to 3 years. But in all honesty, the Raiders find Josh McDaniels, I'm not very surprised, and I hope to see the Raiders do good, because the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly known as the Oakland Raiders, have a lot of history in the NFL when it comes to this.